What if you were born in India? Your first breath happens somewhere loud. Maybe a crowded public hospital, maybe a small room at home, with more relatives waiting outside than you'll ever be able to name. Your father works with his hands. Construction, maybe. Hauling goods on his back, or pedaling a rickshaw through traffic that never really stops. Your mother works too, cleaning houses in neighborhoods she could never afford to live in, or running a tiny stall selling whatever she can. There are several of you, brothers, sisters, and from day one, you're part of a system where every extra pair of hands matters because nobody's coming to save you if the money runs out. There's no quiet nursery waiting for you. There's noise, spices in the air, horns outside, and a heat that never really breaks. By the time you're two, your parents are stretched too thin to watch you closely, so you learn the street. Not as a metaphor, literally. You eat there, you wash there, and in many neighborhoods, especially the densely packed ones, there's simply no plumbing to speak of. Building a sewage system into homes stacked this tightly, this fast, turned out to be nearly impossible. Clean water itself is something entire communities have to fight for. By 5, you're not just a kid anymore. You're an economic unit. Your family didn't bring you into the world to shelter you full-time. They don't have that luxury. So you start working the crowds, learning fast who might give you a coin and who might chase you off. You develop a kind of radar for it. You have to. Here's the strange part. On paper, your country is doing well. It's one of the fastest growing major economies on the planet, currently sitting among the top handful of largest economies in the world by total output. But that number doesn't trickle down evenly. The wealth is real. It's just concentrated. A small slice of the population holds an enormous share of it, while hundreds of millions of people, including your family, are left splitting whatever's left over. At 7, you're pushed into an overcrowded government school, 80 kids to a classroom, a system that isn't built to develop your potential so much as get you to a bare minimum before releasing you back into the workforce. If you actually want a serious education, it will take relentless, almost obsessive extra effort on top of a school day that already asks a lot and gives back very little. Officially, national literacy sits around 80%, but that number hides a massive gap. Wealthier states report literacy above 95%, while poorer, more crowded regions fall closer to 70%. And the bar for being counted as literate at all is often just being able to sign your name and read a single simple sentence. So after a short stretch in that system, you're back on the street. And by 8, your family has grown again, maybe a new baby sister. In many households, that's treated less like a celebration and more like a financial problem waiting to happen because of a dowry tradition that, despite being illegal for decades, still quietly persists in practice, where a bride's family is expected to hand over money, gold, or property to the groom's side. Daughters in this framing become an expense to plan for rather than an addition to celebrate. Many girls are pulled from school early to help at home, and in some communities, marriage happens shockingly young, sometimes barely into the teenage years. You, meanwhile, are expected to work. Officially, the number of child laborers is counted in the millions. Unofficially, researchers and advocacy groups estimate the real number is several times higher. Tens of millions of children working instead of studying. You might spend a year hauling bricks under a brutal sun, another year with your small fingers put to work on a loom because they're precisely the right size for delicate thread work. Another year in a garage learning to patch up cars twice as old as you are. By your teenage years, you've picked up a trade, but a trade doesn't guarantee stability. If you quit tomorrow, there's a line of people ready to take your spot by the next morning. Still, you dream of running your own small shop one day, scraping together tools, hunting for the cheapest rent in whichever neighborhood will have you. And here's something genuinely wild. Your country officially recognizes over 20 languages, and depending who you ask, somewhere in the range of several hundred to well over 1,000 distinct languages and dialects are spoken across it. Travel a couple of regions over, and you might not understand a word anyone's saying. At 18, if things go reasonably well, you've got a shop of your own. Modest, under-equipped, but functional. You're also old enough to vote now, and there's an odd little rule tied to that. No voter is supposed to have to travel more than a couple of kilometers to reach a polling station, which means officials will trek up remote mountainsides to set up a ballot box for a single registered voter, if that's what it takes. Choosing who to vote for, though, is its own maze. Thousands of registered parties nationwide, a handful of them holding real national power, and local ballots that can list dozens of candidates for a single seat. Your 20s bring more of the same grinding rhythm. Healthcare, if you need it, is a lesson in patience. Public hospitals are the only realistic option for a family like yours. And realistic doesn't mean quick. People wait for days. Staff and beds are stretched thin everywhere at once. Around this time, marriage becomes the next expectation. The legal minimum age for men is 21, and the overwhelming majority of marriages are still arranged by family rather than chosen freely. Introductions built around compatibility of background, income, sometimes even skin tone, openly listed in classified marriage ads. And underneath nearly all of it sits the caste system, an ancient social hierarchy, technically outlawed in modern law, that still quietly shapes who's considered a suitable match, often treated as though it reflects something spiritually earned or deserved from a past life. Add religion to the mix. Most of the country is Hindu, but it's also home to one of the largest Muslim populations of any nation on earth, along with Sikh, Christian, Jain, Buddhist, and other communities. And marrying outside your own faith can carry serious social consequences in many families. Weddings themselves stretch over several days. For wealthy families, it's a display of status. For families like yours, it can mean years of debt to a moneylender just to cover a few days of tradition. Eventually, you settle into married life. Weekends might mean the whole extended family piling into a temple visit or a crowded local park. Getting anywhere far usually means the train, and the trains here carry a genuinely staggering number of people, tens of millions of passenger trips every single day. More people move daily than the entire population of some mid-sized countries. The system is stretched well past comfortable capacity, and it simply cannot expand fast enough to keep pace with over 1 billion people trying to get somewhere. You keep going like this into your mid-20s. A child of your own is on the way. One quiet evening, lying down after a long day, your mind runs through the same small worries it always does. Will this month's rent get covered? Will the gas canister last a few more days? Will the sole of your shoe hold up a little longer? And then you fall asleep. One story, out of well over 1 billion, unfolding in the very same country, at the very same moment. If this made you think, subscribe, because next time we're imagining a completely different life in a completely different corner of the world.